Welcome to Business Now, your quick take on what's shaping Uganda's economy. But first, before we dive in, it's your time to achieve your goals. By accessing financing for your immediate needs, Absa Bank has made available 600 million shillings for car loans, 200 million shillings for business loans, or even salary loans of up to 300 million shillings. So, Bahane, let's move on. In this edition of Business Now, the financial year 2025-2026 budget and how new taxes impact small and medium enterprises, a spotlight on agrochemical industry reforms and why financial literacy matters as Ugandans borrow to survive. Plus, Microsoft Africa's Catherine Ranga on why the continent must lead, not just use AI. Business Now, where business meets real life.
So those people outside the money economy are just going to increase the work for you. It may appear that the tax register has grown, but it will have grown with people who are not going to contribute much.
Cannot wake up in the morning and just say we are banning these products when we don't have alternatives.
I've seen excitement. Someone gets borrowed money and he thinks it's as if it's been given to them free of charge.
Those who do not use AI will be disadvantaged. Those who do not learn how to use AI will be disadvantaged.
So let's start off with the key stories making headlines in business. Total Energies is under pressure as German asset manager Union Investment divests over human rights concerns linked to its Uganda oil projects. And this could affect financing and delay Uganda's planned 2026 oil production start. Uganda has secured an $800 million financing agreement with the Islamic Development Bank to fund key development projects. And the deal includes plans for a railway connecting Uganda to Kenya's standard gauge railway, enhancing access to the Indian Ocean port of Mombasa. This initiative aims to improve trade capabilities and infrastructure, supporting Uganda's economic growth and regional integration. Now, Kenya's duty-free access to the US under AGOA expires in September this year, threatening tariffs on exports and risking 16,000 jobs at a major garment factory. Without renewal, Kenya's goods may lose competitiveness in the US market. Onto the CEO to support entrepreneurship. Uganda's 2025-2026 budget tax bills propose a 3-year income tax break for startups with under 500 million Uganda shillings capital. But is that enough to help SMEs thrive long term? Earlier, I spoke to John Walgembe live from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Okay, so first of all, we want to appreciate government for coming up with these tax proposals, more so the incentives and the tax relief that they're offering to businesses that are starting. We've mentioned over many years the fact that the tax regime is one of the key inhibitors for businesses that wish to start. Someone starts a business and then they have to spend a lot of time with a taxman explaining themselves, I didn't earn this, I didn't earn the other. And we know that businesses take long to break even anyway. So I think this proposal is long overdue. Startup businesses should be given time to start, to grow, to thrive, and then to contribute to the resource envelope. And I think on the part of government, this is smart, because if you know that your startup businesses are receiving these exemptions and are filing, then you can track them. As and when they make a profit, you will know, and at that point, you can already start asking them to pay their fair share. But during the incubation period, they should be given some time to be able to establish their business operation. So we are very glad that government has come up with this proposal. We hope it can extend to all kinds of taxes, not just income tax. For construction, I think this is the second year that government is really focusing on construction materials. And our argument to government has been the real estate sector is a very important sector. It's one of the key sectors that has been driving growth. So you want to avoid overtaxing that sector. You want to say, am I taxing inputs or am I taxing the end result? If you're coming up and you're saying, want to collect rental tax, then leave the inputs alone. If you choose to say, let me go the input route, that's fine. Then don't charge rental tax, but you can't charge both ways. So then, for us, that's because if you charge both ways, then you are not incentivizing people to invest in the sector. And if you look at the restrictions around land ownership, land transfer, and so on, you want to avoid overtaxing the sector, because at some point you might just issue. Through taxation, you must just make it, stagnate, and that's not what you really want. You want the sector to keep growing because it has broader implications for the economy, job creation and stuff. So maybe the issue of construction and the real estate sector in general is something that ought to be discussed in depth. So those people outside the money economy are just going to increase the work for you. It may appear that the tax register has grown, but it will have grown with people who are not going to contribute much, because the tax register will simply be flooded with people who are not going to make any meaningful contribution to the tax base. So I don't think it will give us the quick results that the people who proposed it think it will. Well, I think that government should do more to improve the cost of doing business, make it easier for people to start and run their businesses. Government should avoid over-regulating, should look at cutting down red tape. Sometimes government cuts red tape in certain areas, increases red tape in other areas. So we need to have an index that assesses, what kind of laws and regulations must a small business comply with. So that's something we need to address. The issue of access to finance is critical. I know different initiatives have been rolled out. Some have succeeded, some haven't. But it's something we need to look at critically to say, what can we do to ensure that businesses find it easier to access money to grow? And obviously, issues to do with accessing markets, because every business would want to first sell organically without relying on debt. If you find that businesses are not selling but are simply relying on debt to survive, that's also a problem. So we need to support businesses to be able to access markets locally, regionally, and internationally.
On agriculture now, Crop Life Uganda brought together agrochemical players at its first ever annual symposium in May 2025. From sustainable farming to pesticide regulation, the event tackled pressing issues on Uganda's agriculture sector.
Crop Life is an apex body for all manufacturers and importers in Uganda, and basically what we try to do is to have responsibility over the products that we sell, that we manufacture, to make sure that we have good stewardship, but also we want to take on a role of championing good practices for our business, so that some of the things like counterfeit, some of the things like wrong information, disseminating right information to people like you is really taken on seriously. And for us, what we request from the regulator, one, is to give us more time, because like we discussed yesterday, we cannot wake up in the morning and just say we are banning these products when we don't have alternatives. We've been in talks, of course, with the regulator, and we are on the same page. Like the commissioner said, we all agree we need some more time. Secondly, we also need to look for alternatives that are really affordable by the farmer. And yesterday we heard that to develop these products takes 10 to 12 years, and the cost of bringing out just one product is $300 million, which is really something that we cannot fully understand. And so because of that, if we wake up in the morning and we don't have some of these products like imidacloprid for the twig borer, like mancozeb, like 2,4-D, if we don't have alternatives, the likely event is going to be we'll have more counterfeit coming in, we'll have products coming through the border points, especially where products are still not banned. And we see this with Gramaxone that is banned here and it's not banned elsewhere. And we'll also have issues with the farmer. What will the farmer use? Because most of the, for example, fungicides are very expensive for the farmer. You look at products like tebuconazole, which is effective, a farmer cannot afford it. So our stand as the industry is to request the regulator to give us more time so that we can also mobilize ourselves. But again, as manufacturers and importers, we also need to stand up to the occasion, one, and fight counterfeit together. The ministry can't do much without us. It's our responsibility to fight counterfeit, to also, do initiatives like safe use trainings, sensitization about the farmers, because farmers don't know exactly what is banned, what is not banned, what is good for them. And we want also to take on interventions like training, like beekeepers, Because one of the things why products are going to be are put on that list is one of them is being threats to the population of bees, and we know that we can have other interventions like training farmers when to apply these pesticides, when not to apply them, how to apply them. And if we do this as an industry, do radio campaign, do trainings, do support, all this can be trained. People like you who are always speaking in the newspapers will go a long way, to curb down some of these things. So we must stand together, create this fund under Crop Life, and make sure that we really come up strong on counterfeit. And we have to do this immediately. Just before the season, for example, you'll see a lot of trash coming internally. Some of it doesn't even come from outside the country. So I think this is a mantle we must hold as the industry. And also for the ministry, I remember we came up with this issue of creating a levy that should be managed by, partly the ministry has a part and Crop Life has a part, and this is working in Kenya, and we need to fast track that through Commissioner to see where we are at. We had a meeting and some time back, and we told them we need to have a particular revenue sharing. The ministry takes a percentage, we take a percentage, and together we fight.
This week on our financial literacy segment, we discuss responsible borrowing. In a conversation with the president of the Money Lenders Association, we discovered that some people actually take out loans for survival, sometimes even pay medical bills for patients in the ICU. Mr. John and Akandwana, you're welcome to Business Now once again to teach us things money. You're the chairman of the Money Lenders Association, and there's too much demand for money out there. How do you deal with the question of risk, first of all?
Truth is, there's always demand for money than the supply. And that's why for financial institutions, you actually have to go through some assessment before you're given the money. But because the demand is high, the supply is low. And one of the areas that we look at to risk ourselves is asking for collateral. So we de-risk ourselves by looking at the collaterals, but more so someone's character as well as the capacity to pay based on the bank statements and previous loan records. And that's why we advocate for 5 C's. For those that studied, economics or bit of business, entrepreneurship, bit of credit, they look at 5 C's. One of them is character, because ultimately what pays, even when someone has not done an agreement, is their character. To say, what, even if I have given you my land title, even if I've given you my card or book, it still concerns me. Even when they have the opportunity to default, they don't. But because they have good character and probably assess them very well, and they can actually qualify for a loan and they can able to pay the loan.
There's a narrative out there that almost majority of Ugandans, I don't want to put a number to it, perhaps maybe you will, majority of Ugandan businesses, individuals, and etc. are operating or surviving on loans. Is that true?
Over 70% of Ugandans survive on loans. Over 70%. Ranging from the small loans on their mobile phones to the big loans of securing the color book or land title. So it's a truth. But also realize that most of the Ugandans are not even banked, because I think about 17% of the Ugandan population is banked with bank account. So most of them, their bank account is mobile money. So, and that's why I've always emphasized that, that's why money lending still has a space in Uganda. Not even in Uganda alone. Because most of the countries in Africa, even developed countries, the thing is, in Africa especially, people are not banked.
So what is being done to make sure that those that are unbankable are reached and, given the, basic level of financial literacy, to make sure that when they borrow this money, they can actually use it properly?
As an association, we've endeavored to teach. I personally talk a lot, teach a lot on different platforms, including radios, including TVs, because truth is the public is not aware. That's why even someone can afford to go for a loan that is as expensive as 30% per month, yet there are some companies that lend for as low as 3%, 2.8%, 4%. And just because someone has no information that there is this other lender who can give me cheap money. So there is a huge bracket of Ugandans that actually need to be educated.
So many people believe that loans are inherently very dangerous, okay? And And some say it's a sign of financial failure. That when the moment you now go for loans, you're desperate and you're even at a risk of failing. From your perspective, how can we shift this narrative to help people see loans as a tool or an enabler rather than a risk?
I think it's a misconception. It's a misconception. Loan needs to be approached in two areas. One, there's a client that approaches a loan as a lifeline. Like when I'm accessing this money to pay rent for a month. But that is very risky. Because you're going to pay for this month and it ends. Then what? You're going to borrow again. But also, there are those that use loans as a leverage. And that's what I usually encourage. I've seen excitement. Someone gets borrowed money and he thinks it's as if it be given to them free of charge. What advice I give is that much of the time, actually, research shows that over 75% of the people who access loans misdirect or misuse the money for the intention they borrowed it for. So one thing I usually advise that please invest in that thing for which you borrowed for. If I borrowed 50 million or 100 million for scaling up my business, let it be invested in scaling up that business.
On Tech Now this week, we closely follow the 2025 Africa AI Summit. Microsoft's Africa's Catherine Muranga urged the continent to go beyond using AI or artificial intelligence to start. A message is to innovate for itself, not just consume global technology.
Microsoft's global mission is empower every person, every organization to achieve more. And it is embedded in how we design products, how we software engineer products. We are very mindful that how do we make sure that we do not exclude people from different geographic locations. We are mindful in the design aspect. How do we make sure that we include those who are differently abled, as an example? So it is that, and also partnering with governments. We're a big partner with governments, especially from an Africa perspective, in the crafting of things like AI policy. Partnering also with data commission offices. What are their challenges or hesitation in crafting, for example, policy frameworks? Now, extrapolating it to private sector, a lot of private sector, we employ graduates of those who have acquired skills. Again, therein lies an opportunity, even what is being taught in universities. An opportunity to review curriculum and ensure, have we integrated AI into it? And have we also shown what is the real impact, even before we go to private sector? Even those who don't make it to universities, the vocational, the tertiary institutions, and also driving a mindset of self-learning. The beauty about where we operate today, internet connectivity, you have things like YouTube, self-learning platforms like Coursera, Udemy, and there are many. Each one of us, from being curious, the opportunity to learn. How does AI apply in healthcare, finance, agriculture? I mean, the opportunities are endless, the courses are endless. And even with Microsoft, we provided Microsoft Learn and also AI Skills Navigator. The fear of AI taking up jobs is real. We are human. But for me, I always like to ask people, think about the first time you got a smartphone. It elicited excitement or, we were curious. You can take photos. AI is in the same category. It is what is called a general purpose technology. The use cases are immense. It's the same way today. We use a smartphone. Besides calling, there's so many other use cases. And it is the same posture we should approach with AI. However, I must mention, in this era, there lies a huge opportunity for us to learn. How do we use AI? And first of all, what is AI? And how does it apply to me in different verticals? Because truly, even as much as I said AI presents an opportunity for augmentation and not replacement, the best augmentation will be for those who are curious enough and spend time to learn. So how do I work together with this AI capability? Yeah. And in the same way, back in the day when internet came in, there were worries about when internet take away jobs. It is true, some jobs disappeared. The same opportunity for AI. Those who do not use AI will be disadvantaged. Those who do not learn how to use AI will be disadvantaged.
And this is what we have discovered or observed today in the week's regional markets. Stock exchanges shows minimal movement on the East African Exchange, a 20-share index inching down slightly from 99 points to 99 points. Flat. Major counters such as CRDB Bank, NMB Bank and Tanzania Breweries maintained their opening prices, while trading volumes remained modest across most listings. Notably, Safaricom, KCB Group, which is also cross-listed in Uganda, and Equity Group saw active turnover, signaling sustained investor interest in the Kenyan market. Meanwhile, the Ugandan market was led by MTN Uganda and Airtel Uganda, both holding steady amid light trading. And the Uganda shilling has also shown relative stability at that against the US dollar, supported by strong export earnings, particularly from coffee and steady monetary policy measures from the Bank of Uganda. However, ongoing fiscal pressures such as widening trade deficit and rising public debt continue to pose risks to sustained currency strength. That's all we had for you on this edition of Business Now. Don't forget to contact your Absa Bank branch for financing of all your needs. It's your turn to achieve your goals by accessing financing for your immediate needs. Absa Bank has made available up to 600 million shillings for car loans, 200 million shillings for business loans, or even salary loans of up to 300 million shillings. You can see this program once again on NTV Uganda YouTube channel and follow us on our social media platforms X and Facebook. Our website is ntv.co.ug.